Hey, welcome to part 52. Parts 50, 51 are in the members area. Cloud kernel cloud ninja members can access. So if you have not yet subscribed, do so and onboard the cloud journey. So let us look at one more question here. See, there is a company like Bank of America, for example. They hire some company vendor like maybe Cognizant, for example, and the so they hire a external vendor, and the vendor they say that, hey boss, I have my own product, own tool that is hosted on AWS account, and I own it. Okay, and but if they are bringing it, then the company will have to allow it, right? So the vendor does not have IAM access because the vendor is new here, so they don't have this IAM access. Now, how should you grant this access? Like you, for example, you are in Bank of America, you are in the IT team, and you want to grant access to these people. How will you grant access to the vendors? The first option is saying that you will create a IAM role in the company's account to delegate access to the vendor's IAM role, and then you will attach policies. So see, first thing is you have to create a role. Then you assign the users to that role. That is first thing, and then you there should be a policy. Like the vendor cannot access anything and everything in your company. If they have come for a particular thing, you give policy access to those things through policies, and you are giving those policies to the role of the vendor. This should be good enough. Hope so. So let us mark this correct and look at other options also in case we get a better answer. See, option B sounds very faulty because it says password that meets password complexity requirement. So create a user with a password. That's what they are saying. And then attach. See, you need role. Just user and attaching a policy. That vendor, for example, Cognizant, they may have 20, 30 people also. So you will not do one access for each person. You create a role and then you add the people to the role as and when required. That is the easiest way. Second is this option itself looks weird because it says, oh, password complexity requirements. That is looking very weird. C says that create a group in company's account, add the IAM user from the vendor. See, you have to have a vendor group also because that way the access, like I told, you provide access to the group and then assign users to that group. That way it can be streamlined. That is how we do it in the industry. Option D says that you use a new identity provider itself. So why will I do that? Like, if that is the case, if I have five different vendors like Bank of America, maybe you are working with 10 different vendors. They may have Infosys, Wipro, Accenture, so many things. So will they use a different identity provider for each vendor? No, that is not required here. So option A would be our final answer. Now this next question, see, a company has deployed Java Spring Boot application. One application, you forget about other things. One application, it is running on EKS, that is Elastic Kubernetes Services. So when we use microservices based architecture, we use these things. And mind you, this is inside a private subnet, so that people from internet cannot have access directly. You cannot access it directly. It is secured inside a peripheral. This is your peripheral. It is secured. Just like your president of India, they stay in a president's house, so it is having top security. All the perimeters here, all everything is secured here. Okay, that is what we are saying in this also. The application is in private subnet, very secure. Now the application needs to write to DynamoDB. So, like I always say, this is a database on steroids, very high performance. If you want to build applications like Uber, then you use this. It is no SQL based. Obviously, SQL based database can never give such good performance. Obviously, so it's like this is your application. It is saying, boss, this is in a periphery, and this is secured, right, in a private subnet, and it is saying that, boss, now this guy has to write to a database which is a DynamoDB database. This write should happen here, and you, as a solution architect, you have to make sure application interacts with DynamoDB tables without exposing traffic to the internet. So this guy should only write to Amazon DynamoDB. All Tom, Dick, and Harry in the internet should not be able to access this. So you have to choose two steps. Choose two answers. Which two answers will you choose? The A says that I will attach IAM role that has sufficient privileges to EKS pod. So EKS pod, yeah. See, first thing is you will need access. So I see two options which is talking about access. One is saying I will attach role, I will other is saying I will attach user. Because the best way to do is attach role. Like I always say, you create a role, attach the role, and then assign the users to that role. That is how we do it in the real world. So B becomes wrong, A becomes correct. Okay. Now see, we need to create a VPC endpoint. If you don't want internet to access everything, you create a VPC endpoint. This DynamoDB, no, this guy will have a endpoint, and then you can access it to the endpoint. So whenever people say, I want to make sure people in the internet should not access this, think about endpoint, 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 endpoint. I'm repeating it. Think about endpoint. Whenever people don't want the internet to access reach them, use endpoint within the VPC. Create a VPC endpoint for DynamoDB. Okay, this is solved. Oh, we got out two answers, but let's look other stuff as well. E. What E is saying? These guys are saying, boss, embed the access key in the boot code itself. Okay, so stupid. Okay, so nasty, so wonderful. Just wow. Why will we do that? See, the first basic rule what we say: do not put password inside the code. Do not put access keys inside the code. So this is obviously wrong. Now C says allow outbound connectivity to DynamoDB. See, you want inbound connectivity. DynamoDB application will write. That means it has to accept inbound. It is not outbound. Okay, so that's why this is wrong. This guy here, this arrow, inbound. DynamoDB saying was write the data, give it to me, give it to me. Okay, it is not outbound. DynamoDB is not transferring data to somewhere else. It is receiving the data from the application. So these are our two answers, options A and D. You got to assign IAM role, sufficient privileges to access EKS pod. The next thing is create a VPC endpoint for DynamoDB, and these two together will help you make sure Tom, Dick, and Harry from internet cannot screw you up. Okay, this is the next question. What they are saying is there is a media company. They are already on premises, boss. Remember this. They are already on premises. If you think that you are going to give them something awesome, you are silly. They are already saying, boss, I am collecting my data. I am on premises. My business is already running. You are telling, boss, if you come to AWS, my life will change. Move it to AWS. Migrate this. Okay. Now you are saying, oh, boss, I have to migrate this. Then I have to choose in AWS what services I should use. Okay. Then you say, okay, boss, how much data you have? They say, boss, I have petabytes of data. Did also tell you, aren't you experienced? Don't you know that in the media company you have petabytes of data? Okay. The next thing, as an architect, they are also telling you, boss, I want this to be highly available data ingestion solution. highly available. That means no downtime, no or minimize downtime, as minimal as possible. Okay, and why they want this such things? They also want on-demand analytics of existing data and new data with SQLs. You cannot keep it in a file system or object store and fire SQL. You want to put it in a database where you can fire SQLs. Simple, simple. So I'll just use this thing. They are saying, I want to fire SQL. 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 Okay, simple. If you want to fire SQL, I cannot put it on S3. If you want to fire SQL, I cannot put it on S3. Two answers gone straight away. Where I have to put in a database, in a database, in a database, in a database. This guy says Redshift cluster. This guy says RDS. Both are databases. Which database? Which database? Which database? Okay, boss. One more thing will help me solve this. It is saying petabytes in size. Can RDS hold petabyte scale data? No, RDS is not meant for petabyte scale data. RDS is not going to operate that way. It's a relational database. As long as you have some decent size data, it can use. You can take the benefits. Okay. It is mostly for operational. It is not for you put bulk of data and then you think about firing SQLs for data analysis. So RDS cannot hold petabyte, 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 petabyte data. RDS petabyte does not go together. RDS is a small database, small database. Redshift is a big database. Especially for this, you can hold petabyte scale data. You can fire SQL queries. This is the beauty of Redshift. Okay, that is why we use it for data warehouse, because it can hold so much of data. It supports massively parallel processing, MPP architecture. That is why it is giving you that kind of performance with so much amount of data. So which one is cheap, RDS or Redshift? What is your logic? What does your logic say? Common sense says Redshift would be very expensive. Okay, very expensive. Redshift is similar to Snowflake. Snowflake is similar to Redshift. You will see a lot of clients going to Snowflake. After a year, see, first they go to Snowflake. Snowflake says, buddy, come here. I'll give you so much things. After a year, client loses all the money. And then the client says, sorry, buddy, help you save the cost. So that is how expensive it is. So if you really need that kind of petabyte scale and those kind of stuff, then you use Redshift. Okay. In our case, question, you have this answer. This will perfectly fit. See, there are two things. First is, how will you do collect data? So they are saying, I will collect data using Kinesis data firehose system. So will this work fine? Will this will work fine? Real-time streams into data lakes, warehouse, and analytics services. That is perfectly fine. Can it write to Redshift? Yes, boss. You see this? It can write to Redshift. It can write to S3. It can write to OpenSearch, API Gateway, Splunk, and so on. So we got our answer. Our answer is option B. You send the activity data to data firehose delivery stream. That guy will automatically send it to Redshift cluster. You save petabyte scale data. You fire SQL queries. You can do on-demand analytics. Whatever you want, you do. See, the previous 2-3 parts I have put for members. You need to pay some money, become Cloud Kernel or Cloud Ninja member, gain that access. If you are not yet subscribed, subscribe and onboard this journey. These are all important questions. It will help you with clearing certifications. And we are trying to explain in a very layman term. Okay, we are trying to make it very easy in a layman term. Apply logic, weed out wrong options, arrive at the right answer. Usually weeding out two options is easy, but there will always be two options which you will might think that it is correct. The key lies uh, choosing between those two and making sure that you choose the right one. So focus on the concepts, please. This will help you with clearing the certification. In the exam, you may get same or similar questions, but if you know the concepts, you can apply it and clear the certification. This brings us to the end of part 52. See you in the next part.